is it always the usual suspects? You guys are really disappointing. I don't know if it is that you are stupid or you are some government experiment.
They will never assimilate. They have chimp brains. Can't change that. Everywhere in the world where they are, it's violence, ignorance, stupidity, monkey culture, and a savage nature.
I keep seeing all of these TikToks with the usual suspects saying, oh, if we don't get our EBT, we don't get our SNAP, our food stamps, whatever, by the first, we're going to start stealing.
The usual suspects. At this point, just say black people. We know you're talking about us. Damn. So the other day I'm scrolling on social media, right? And I kept seeing the same phrase pop up over and over again. The usual suspects.
The usual suspects.
The usual suspects.
Usual suspects.
The usual suspects.
The usual suspects.
At first, I'm not thinking much of it. I'm like, okay, maybe they're talking about repeat offenders. Maybe they're talking about specific individuals. Or maybe they're talking about actual suspects, right? But then I start reading the comments and I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's not what they mean at all. They're talking about us. And the craziest part is, they're not even trying to be subtle. You'll see people say things like, I don't see color, or I'm just being honest. That's just statistics. But in the same breath, they'll also turn around and say, it's always the same type of people.
Listen, I'm not racist. However, you do something that complements your stereotype. Let's say someone of an also very specific race gets a woman pregnant and leaves her. I'm also going to be like,
And that right there tells you everything you need to know. Because how do you not see color, but somehow you always end up describing one specific group? That's not being neutral. That's just coded language. And that's really what this whole usual suspects thing is. It's just a way to say something without actually saying it. Because if someone really believed what they were saying, they wouldn't have to hide behind phrases like that. They wouldn't need to soften it or disguise it. They would just say it directly. But that's the thing, they don't. And the reason they don't is because they understand how it sounds. They understand how it looks. And they understand it would be consequences for saying it outright. So instead, they repackage it. They dress it up. They make it sound more acceptable. The usual suspects. I'm not racist, I'm just observant. Patterns don't lie.
I'm not a bigot. I'm not a racist.
Anybody with a brain can tell he's about to say something really stupid.
But I am a realist. And I am a culturalist. And what I will not put up with is all the crime, all the debauchery, the litter, the bonnet brigade, the people that walk through the damn store holding their damn cell phone like this on speakerphone again.
Did I lie? This loser's more worried about us wearing bonnets and using our cell phone in a specific way in public. You can't make this up, dog. But what they're really describing isn't observation. It's repetition. Because if all you consume all day is negative content about one specific group of people, your perception is going to be shaped by that. If every video you watch, every post you engage with, every comment you read is reinforcing the same negative idea, eventually it's gonna feel like truth to you, even if it's not. And that's not pattern recognition, that's conditioning. And social media plays a huge role in that because these platforms don't show you reality. They show you what keeps you engaged. If negative content gets your attention, then that's what you're gonna be shown. And the more you see it, the more it reinforces what you already believe.
You never know what's going to happen. You truly don't. You could look at them wrong and they get mad and loud and aggressive. So if avoiding black people for your own safety is racism now, well, then I guess I'm racist.
You can tell her algorithm is just showing her the most extreme clips of black people, not what real life actually looks like. And that's the type of mindset that forms when you consume that type of content on a consistent basis. And as you'll see as the video continues, some of them are bold enough to let us know they're talking about us, but most of them are not like that. So then people start saying things like, why is it always the same group? Or I'm just asking questions.
Why do we always see the perpetrator being black?
How are you getting in here
and
doing whatever the fuck you want?
Who? Get away from me.
I'm just asking you a question.
Get away from me.
But those aren't real questions. Those are assumptions being framed as curiosity. And usually, those assumptions aren't coming from real life experiences. Majority of the time, they're not. A lot of the people who say the usual suspects don't actually interact with black people on a regular basis. They don't live around us. They don't work with us. And they damn sure don't build relationships with us. Everything they think they know comes from secondhand sources, comment sections, viral clips, and other people who already think the same way they do.
Harassing an old white man at Vaughn's.
I need it, bro. Obviously, in this situation, the black guy is at fault. I'm not defending that, and he should not be harassing people. But the point is, this is the only side of the community that they show, which is a very small percentage, by the way.
When I see a black, I'm just like, you just suck, you know? And I'm going to avoid you.
I think I just feel safer around Mexicans, like I'm not gonna get shot or something.
When you have two idiots like this, it's nobody there to ever challenge their way of thinking. So they continue with this same mindset and they surround themselves around other idiots that think exactly like they do. But clips like the one that I'm about to show you that represents us in a positive light get minimized or ignored because it doesn't fit the narrative that they're trying to push.
Someone dropped that envelope right there on the floor. That's yours? You dropped that envelope on the floor, boss? Someone dropped that envelope on the floor right there.
Yeah, not me.
Huh?
Oh, take it up to the desk.
Oh, that's not for you?
No.
Oh man, look at it's a lot of money though.
I know.
Yeah, you said PK on it.
Yeah. Come on, let's take it up into the desk.
Oh man, you honest.
So it becomes an echo chamber. And inside of that echo chamber, phrases like the usual suspects start to feel normal. They start to feel justified. But the reality is, it's just bias being repeated over and over again. And what makes it even more obvious is the fact that people will admit indirectly that they know what they're saying is wrong. You'll see situations where someone is basically told, just say what you mean. And their response is, I don't want to get banned or I don't want to get canceled, which means they already understand exactly what they're implying. They just don't want to deal with the consequences of saying it outright.
Say it again. Say it again. I'm at the baby game. I got a seat. And, what'd you say? Say it again. Say it again.
I said you're an ugly ass, weird ass bitch. That's what
Okay. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else?
Do you think black people should pay reparations to white people for using up all the welfare and committing so much crime?
I don't think I can answer that. I can't answer anything about race.
Do you think black people should be able to use the self-checkout section at the grocery store?
I think I still want to go to college. Hey, this is all a joke, all for research purposes.
So instead, they hide behind language that gives them plausible deniability. They can always fall back on, I didn't say that, even though everyone already knows what was implied. And then, almost every time, the conversation shifts to statistics. That's usually the next step. Fake numbers get brought up with no context, no explanation, no deeper analysis, just fake numbers by themselves that are supposed to be some sort of proof of something bigger.
But if you look at the stats, a black man is actually approximately 38 times more likely to murder a white man than a white man is to murder a black man.
They're 38 times more, they're 50 times more, they're this, they're that. It changes every time this conversation comes up. And you know their favorite one to jump to is the 1350.
Violent crime, you just said, like you said, a small percentage of the country, about 12 to 13%, 50% of the violent crime.
It's false, and that's been disproved so many times, but it's like, oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to make a full video on that. But numbers without context don't actually explain anything, let alone fake numbers at that. They don't tell you why something is happening. They don't account for historical factors, economic conditions, or systemic issues. They just give you a surface level snapshot that can be interpreted multiple different ways depending on what you already believe. And that's why those numbers are usually used the way that they are, not to understand, but to confirm a bias that already exists. Because if the goal was actually understanding, the conversation wouldn't stop at the statistic. It would go deeper. It would ask why. It would look at the contributing factors. It would consider multiple perspectives. But that never happens. Instead, it always circles back to the same conclusion, the usual suspects.
All right, so let's understand something. It's not a race issue. It's a cultural issue. The thug mentality is ruining our country. Please stay in the sewer trap areas of the cities because we don't need you out here. You can always tell when they get here because there's more crime, there's more litter, and there's more just debauchery in your public.
And what's interesting is that mindset doesn't change no matter what black people do. If there's a negative situation, it's used as confirmation. If there's a positive situation, it gets ignored or minimized. If there's success, it's seen as an exception. If there's struggle, it's seen as proof. So the outcome is already decided before the situation is even evaluated. And that's how you know it's not about logic. It's about objectivity. It's about bias. It's about starting with a conclusion and then working backwards to justify it. And a lot of the time, that bias doesn't come from personal experience. It comes from what people were exposed to growing up.
I grew up in a racist house, a racist extended family, a racist town, a racist culture, and I used to be a racist. I remember hearing racist jokes as a child, racial slurs all day, every day.
My dad didn't think he was racist, right? Because he had like a black friend, and he used to say to me and my brother, there is a difference between black people and hard R. And black people dress nicely, speak white, basically. Hey, stop. Have good jobs, are educated. Those are black people. I'm fine with black people. These are thugs and ghetto and would rob you and would you.
Those ideas get planted early, and if they're never questioned, it just grows. And eventually, they turn into phrases like what we're seeing now. Because by that point, it doesn't feel like an opinion anymore. It feels like a fact, even though it was never really examined in the first place. And that's why repetition is so powerful. If you hear something enough times, especially from different sources, it starts to feel true. Not because it is true, but because it sounds familiar. And familiarity can easily be mistaken for accuracy.
I grew up racist, but I did not know that I was racist. Racism for me started at church. I grew up Missionary Baptist and was led to believe that black people were black because of the curse of Ham. And that's in Genesis, if you're not familiar with it, but Abraham got drunk in a tent, was naked. Ham went in and saw him, told his brothers, and then he was cursed because of sinning upon his dad, whatever. And that's why he was black. And somehow that was justified excuses for slavery.
But when you actually step outside of that environment and interact with people directly, things start to change. Because real life experiences tend to challenge stereotypes, not reinforce them. When you actually talk to people, work with people, build relationships with people, you start to see individuals instead of categories. You start to see differences instead of assumptions. And once that happens, the whole idea of the usual suspects starts to fall apart. Because it was never based on real understanding to begin with. It was based on distance. And distance makes it easy to generalize. It makes it easy to simplify. And it makes it easy to dehumanize. But proximity does the opposite. Proximity adds complexity. It adds nuance. It forces you to confront the idea that people don't fit into the boxes you were given. And that's why exposure matters. That's why real interactions matter. Because it breaks down the narratives that get built in isolation. At the end of the day, the phrases like the usual suspects aren't about observation. They're about assumption. They're not about logic. They're about conditioning. They're not about truth. They're about bias that has never been questioned. And as long as people keep hiding behind coded language instead of being honest about what they believe, nothing really changes. It just gets repackaged. It gets reworded and it gets disguised. But it's still the same idea underneath. So when you hear someone say the usual suspects, understand what's actually being communicated. Because even if they don't always say it directly, they already told you exactly what they mean.